Commissioner, you may now begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is March 21st of 2022 at 4 p.m. And this is a meeting of the Administrative and Regulatory Committee. I am Fran Kelleher, Commissioner and Chair of this committee. And joining me today is Commissioner Pamela Bird, who is here. Commissioner Linda Kroom is not currently available. She may be able to join the meeting later. But as Commissioner Bird and I constitute a quorum, we are going to proceed with the business for today. We have 4 items on our agenda. The first item is approval of minutes from the Administrative and Regulatory Committee of February 24th, 2022. Commissioner Bird, would you like to move that we approve?
Certainly, I move approval of the minutes from February 24th, 2022.
And I will second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. The minutes are unanimously approved. Our first action item for today relates to the Public Housing Agency Plan and authorization to submit the fiscal year 2023 annual Public Housing Agency Plan. This is getting to be a tiny plan since we essentially have moved away from public housing as a model. However, we do still submit this report annually to HUD. And is there a member of the staff who would like to give us an overview of the changes to the plan for this year?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Elliot Rule. I'm a Management and Compliance Analyst with HOC's Compliance Division. I'm here
Thank you, Elliot.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm here to talk about the submission of HOC's fiscal year 2023 annual Public Housing Agency Plan to HUD. The annual plan is to inform the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, residents, and the public of HOC's mission for serving the needs of low-income and very low-income families. HOC must submit a 5-year plan highlighting its housing choice voucher and public housing programs. Annually, HOC must submit updates to the 5-year plan. The Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act of 1998, or QARA, became law on October 21st, 1998. QARA, also known as the Public Housing Reform Law, created the PHA plan. This year, HOC is submitting its 23rd annual PHA plan for HOC's fiscal year 2023, which begins on July 1st, 2022 and ends on June 30th, 2023. HOC's annual PHA plan provides details about immediate operations, program participants, programs, and services. In addition, it details the agency's strategy for addressing the housing needs of Montgomery County residents. HOC submitted its 5th 5-year PHA plan for fiscal year 2020, which covers the period of fiscal year 2020 through 2024. The 5-year PHA plan describes HOC's mission as well as its long-range goals and objectives for achieving its mission over the 5 years outlined within the plan. Much of the current 5-year PHA plan focused on HOC's use of the Rental Assistance Demonstration, or RAD program, to convert the agency's public housing portfolio to project-based rental assistance and project-based vouchers. HOC must submit the fiscal year 2023 annual PHA plan to HUD 75 days prior to the start of the fiscal year covered in the plan, which is April 17th, 2022. The substantive changes to this year's annual PHA plan are updates to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, the Housing Resources Division Housing Choice Voucher Project-Based Voucher Activity, and the addition of 118 COVID-19 emergency housing vouchers. HRD previously adopted 26 temporary COVID-19 waivers pursuant to HUD notices, HUD PIH notices 2020-05, 2020-13, and 2020-33. Through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or CARES Act, HUD had broad authority to waive statutes and regulations for the public housing and housing choice voucher programs. These waivers were intended to allow program participants and PHAs to participate in and operate these programs more efficiently during the COVID-19 crisis. The waivers required updates to 9 chapters within HOC's Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. HUD subsequently published PIH Notice 2021-14 on May 4th, 2021, which reinstated the waivers through December 31st, 2021. In addition, HUD introduced 2 new waivers. The reinstatement of the original waivers and the adoption of the 2 additional waivers required HRD to revise the 9 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan chapters. The American Rescue Plan, which President Biden signed into law on March 11th, 2021, appropriated $5 billion for new and renewal emergency housing vouchers, or EHVs, to facilitate expedited leasing for families at high risk of exposure to coronavirus. HOC was awarded 118 emergency housing vouchers based on HUD's assessment of homeless persons in Montgomery County. The emergency housing vouchers are designated for the following categories: homeless, at risk of homelessness, domestic violence victims, and recently homeless and experiencing housing instability. The addition of these emergency housing vouchers required updates to HOC's Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. Staff released a draft of the fiscal year 2023 annual PHA plan to the public on February 14th, 2022. In addition, staff provided the Resident Advisory Board with a copy of the fiscal year 2023 annual PHA plan for review and comment. The Resident Advisory Board has reviewed the plan and has provided a letter of endorsement, which HOC will submit as one of the supporting documents to HUD on or before April 17th, 2022. To date, HOC has not received any public comments on the annual Public Housing Agency plan. HOC will hold a virtual public hearing for the annual plan on April 6th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. via YouTube prior to the commission meeting. I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has about the submission of HOC's fiscal year 2023 annual Public Housing Agency plan.
Thank you, Elliot. Commissioner Kroom, do you have any questions?
Mr. Byrd.
Oh, Commissioner Byrd, do you have any questions that you would like to unmute and ask?
No questions for me other than just, do we have any idea with the 118 emergency vouchers if those may possibly lead to permanent housing, or is it too early to tell?
Yeah, so those are, I mean, they're essentially regular housing choice vouchers that we were awarded with. We got a total of 118 of them, and those, once they come into the program, my understanding is that they will continue to participate in the program as any other normal housing choice voucher participant would. There's some implementing these vouchers is slightly different than the regular housing choice vouchers. There's some program requirements that they adapted and adjusted a little bit to make it easier to serve customers during the pandemic.
Okay, thanks, Elliot. I just heard you say the word temporary, so, but that sounds good that they'll stay in the program. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Commissioner Byrd. I have a question regarding the emergency vouchers that are available for victims of domestic abuse compared to the Voucher program that is discussed in the next item. And we can wait until that item if you would like to discuss my question. But it was more around, does that make it easier for people to move who may be victims of domestic abuse if we have some of those emergency vouchers available?
The way it works is that these vouchers are referral based, so they will be referred to us through the county.
Mm-hmm.
If the county is unable to refer anyone, then we can go through other service providers specifically for those types, the VAWA related potential customers. But yes, once they get that voucher, it's sorry, I'm trying. I'm gonna get it there.
I guess maybe I should clarify my question.
Okay.
There's discussion in the section on specifically the VAWA updates that we're making to our administrative plan that refer to the amount of time it may take to find another project-based voucher that's available. I'm wondering if we had in our bank of emergency vouchers, which can also cover victims of domestic abuse, some of those vouchers that are still available for some reason, could somebody move from a project-based voucher into one of those emergency vouchers that are clearly allow for domestic violence victims?
Lynn, can you assist with that question, please? Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner. So I believe what Elliot said is correct. The applicant would need to be referred to us from HHS. And so if the 118 emergency vouchers were not fully allocated, then certainly they could consider it. But if not, if there's no other type of project-based voucher assistance available, that victim of domestic violence would get a tenant-based voucher if there were no other PBV assistance available. So
Okay, so one way or another, we would find a way to help them
we would serve them
get to another
definitely.
place.
Yes,
Okay, great. Well, thank you both. I appreciate that clarification.
sure.
Thank you, Lynn.
Sure.
With that, I would be happy to entertain a motion that we recommend to the full commission that they approve the updates to the public housing plan for submission to HUD.
I second that, or if I need to
I
make
think
the
it'd be
motion.
best if you make the motion.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if you were doing it. Okay.
That's okay.
Commissioner Byrd, I move approval of the recommended FY 2023 annual PHA plan to HUD.
Okay, we'll recommend it to the full commission. If I could suggest an amendment to the motion that we recommend
Oh,
to the,
to the commission, yes.
yes,
I'm just reading the last part.
right.
To submit it.
Okay, great. And I will second that we recommend to the commission that the commission authorize submission of the fiscal year 23 annual public housing agency plan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it is approved unanimously that this go forward to the full commission. And thank you to the staff. I know these reports seem like a lot of work when our model does not include a lot of the public housing agency, given the RADS work that we have done. So I very much appreciate that everyone put this much work into it so that we can meet all of our regulatory requirements.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the Violence Against Women's Act, and the staff has been updating, proposing updates to our policy based on new guidance that we have received from HUD on this. And is there someone who would like to provide an overview to us on the work you've done?
Yes, again, this is Elliot Rule. I'm a
Elliot.
management compliance analyst for HOC's compliance division. So I'm going to be talking about the revisions to HOC's Violence Against Women Act policy and related revisions to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. So our overall goal and objective is to request that the Administrative and Regulatory Committee recommend to the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County the adoption of revisions to HOC's Violence Against Women Act, or VAWA, or Act policy, or VAWA policy, and related revisions to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. In addition, to authorize the acting executive director or her designee to implement the revisions to HOC's Violence Against Women Act policy and the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. President Obama signed the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013 into law on March 7th, 2013. HUD subsequently released its final rule effective December 16th, 2016, which expanded housing protections to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking across all of HUD's key housing programs. The law initially applied to all multifamily assisted housing properties, including those with project-based Section 8. It was later broadened to include the public housing, housing choice voucher, and project-based voucher programs. HOC has extended the policy to apply to all housing programs which HOC administers. HOC updates its VAWA policy according to the guidelines set forth in the VAWA Act of 2013, as well as additional HUD guidance. Specifically, subsequent HUD notices, PIH Notice 2017-08 and Housing Notice 2017-05. The following is a summary of the proposed updates to HOC's current VAWA policy based on guidance from PIH Notice 2017-08, which add the low-income housing tax credit program to the list of programs covered. Tax credit is a non-HUD program and is governed by Section 42 of the Internal Revenue Code. Language requiring the tenant selection plans for HOC's applicable properties to include procedures covering VAWA protections. A new section outlining requests for VAWA accommodations. This section details HOC's procedures for requesting an accommodation or modification of a policy in order to exercise VAWA protections. And finally, a new section, emergency transfer in the housing choice voucher and project-based program. This section describes emergency transfers for both programs. In relation to the proposed revisions to the VAWA policy indicated above, staff are proposing revisions to Chapter 1 of the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. These revisions include the addition of a VAWA section to the existing chapter, which references the VAWA policy. Staff will present the proposed revisions to HOC's VAWA policy and related revisions to Chapter 1 of the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan to the Resident Advisory Board and request a letter of endorsement. Staff will address any comments from the Resident Advisory Board prior to Commission approval. Our issues for consideration: does the Administrative and Regulatory Committee wish to join staff's recommendation to the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County to adopt the proposed revisions to HOC's VAWA policy and related revisions to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan? Time frame for discussion by the Administrative and Regulatory Committee at its meeting on March 21st, 2022, for formal commission action on April 6th, 2022. Staff recommendation and commission action needed. Staff recommends that the Administrative and Regulatory Committee join staff's recommendation that the Commission adopt the proposed revisions to HOC's VAWA policy and related revisions to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. I'll be glad to answer any questions about the updates to HOC's VAWA policy and the related Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan updates.
Commissioner Byrd, I just have a question, Elliot, regarding the policy. Are these recommendations, referrals, as you stated earlier, that they come from HHS? Is that the only way a tenant or someone would get into the program?
So the referrals were for the just for the emergency housing vouchers that we were issued. That's kind of a separate voucher entity. This policy is basically for all HOC residents in affordable housing programs. Okay. So if anybody, we made additions to the housing choice, specifically talking about the housing choice voucher program, tenant-based and project-based. So it covers any of those existing customers that might need a transfer, based on a VAWA type reason.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Byrd. I have a slightly modification to that kind of a question. On page 82 and 83 of the updates, there's a section about the certification of domestic violence there. And I noticed it did not include amongst professionals listed social workers or caseworkers. Do you happen to know if they are able to certify these cases for us to be able to move ahead and provide vouchers in the cases of domestic violence?
We don't know specifically, but we can definitely look into it. And if the chapter requires a slight modification, we can do that before submitting to the commission, full commission.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. I saw that they can be involved, let's see, later in the next section on page 102, it specifically listed social workers, therapists, caseworkers, et cetera, amongst the professionals. And so I was hoping that it also applied here, since they may be the first to become aware of a situation or the first place somebody might go for help.
Okay, so we'll definitely look into that. So based on that, it most likely will be, and we can just modify as stated.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I think that's it for my questions. I would be happy to accept a motion that we recommend the full commission approve this. If Commissioner,
I wanted to scroll back up to the recommendation so I read it correctly this time, please. I think it was further up on the slides.
All right, which page?
I can't see on the left side. It was at the very beginning, or you could scroll down.
I think it's page 50.
Yeah. Thank you. Oops, maybe a couple of more up.
Yeah,
48, 47. All right.
maybe a little further up, sorry.
40,
Yeah.
page 40.
Right, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Thank you.
There we go.
If you could come down. Thanks. Recommendation. Okay, thanks. Commissioner Byrd, I move approval that the committee join staff's recommendation that the commission adopt the proposed revisions of HOC's power policy and related revisions to the HCV administrative plan.
Now, I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. And our final item, which I believe you've introduced to some extent already, Elliot, is the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan changes. Do you want to say anything else about those at this point?
So
Jesse
Jesse
Jo- Jesse
Joseph, sorry, this is Darcel Cox, Chief Compliance Officer with HOC. Jesse Joseph is actually going to present this.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry. Hi, Jesse.
My name is Jesse Joseph, and I'm the Management Compliance Analyst working with Elliot, and I will be presenting this portion. The overall goal and objective today is to request that the Administrative and Regulatory Committee recommend to the Housing Opportunity Commissions of Montgomery County to adopt the revisions to the HOC Administrative Plans Table of Contents, Chapter 2, 10, and 11, governing the Housing Choice Voucher Program. In addition, to authorize the acting executive director and her designee to implement the revisions. As policies and provisions changes at the state, federal, and local levels, HOC revises its administrative plans for the Housing Choice Voucher Program accordingly. These revisions ensure that HOC's voucher program remain in compliance with the regulatory governing its jurisdiction in Montgomery County. Some of the changes include the table of content to where Chapter 1 will be modified for letter N and will insert the letters O and P. Chapter 10 would be modified with letters E, F, G, H, and I to accommodate and insert the remote video inspection. Chapter 1, which houses the statement of policy and objectives, staff is recommending that the approval and implementation of revisions to the Violence Act Against Women, the VAWA policy, and by reference to those revisions have been incorporated in the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, which Elliot spoke about earlier. Chapter 2 houses the eligibility for admission. Staff are proposing revisions to Chapter 2 of the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan to update its eligibility and admission standards for a live-in aid. Chapter 10 houses the Housing Quality Standard and Inspections, HQS. The CARES Act of 2020 provided the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, the broad authority to waive statutes and regulations for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. HUD published the PIH Notice 2021-31 on December 31st, 2021. This notice extended the waiver previously adopted in PIH Notice 2020-13, which was published July 2nd of 2021. The notice incorporated the use of the virtual remote video inspection, or RVI for short, as an alternate HQS inspection method. Adopting this waiver provides HOC with the flexibility to continue to serve our most vulnerable customers while reducing the risk of exposure to the current coronavirus from third-party inspectors and HOC staff. Staff also reviews this implementation as essential to HOC's business continuity plan in the event of another pandemic, epidemic, or major natural disaster. Chapter 13 houses the owner's rent reasonableness and payment standards. And in pursuant of PIH Notice 99-35, HUD merged Section 8's certificates and voucher programs. This change allowed for a new way to calculate the housing assistance payment, which is the HAP payment, and the family share. The merger has since concluded, making all pre-merger language obsolete. HOC has made the following revisions to the plan. We omitted in its entirety the sections alluding to pre-merger language and adjusted and clarified the payment standards to include the electronic funds transfer EFT process. As part of the process of making the revision to the HOC Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, public comments is required. Accordingly, HOC provides a 30-day public comment period, which began March 4th, 2022. It will conclude with a public hearing on April 6th, 2022. During the public comment period, a draft of a proposed revision to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan is made available on the agency's website. Staff will present the proposed revision of the Table of Contents, Chapter 2, 10, and 11 of the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan to the Resident Advisory Board and request a letter of endorsement. Staff will address any comments from RAB prior to approval from the Commission. Does the Administrative and Regulatory Committee wish to join staff's recommendation to the Housing Opportunity Commission of Montgomery County to adopt proposed revisions to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan? The timeframe for discussion by the Administrative and Regulatory Committee is at its meeting, which is today, March 21st, 2022, for formal Commission action, April 6, 2022. Staff recommends that the Administrative and Regulatory Committee join staff in recommending that the Commission adopts the proposed revision to HOC's Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. Does anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions?
None for me.
None for me. Thank you very much. That was a good presentation. Appreciate that. I would be happy to take a motion.
Commissioner Byrd, I move approval based on staff's recommendations that the committee moves forward to the Commission to adopt the proposed revisions to HOC's Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan at the April 6, 2022 meeting.
I second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it is approved unanimously. That covers all of the items on our agenda today. Is there any other business that needs to come before this committee? If not, go ahead.
That is all we've done today.
That's all we have for today. Okay. A lot of work went into this. I appreciate everything.
Darcel and her team, wonderful job.
Thank you, staff. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you for your time today.
Yes. Thank you for bringing us up to date and keeping us in compliance with all of these things. With that, if there's no further business, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Byrd, I move approval of adjournment of today's LRC meeting.
I second. All
thank you.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No one's opposed. All right, great. It passes unanimously as well. Everyone enjoy the beautiful evening.
Yeah.
too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
staff, again.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.